Good evening, my friends. My name is Kasha Redwood of Abracadabra and Pentacles. Tonight we have a beautiful story of two amazing little guardians that protect us all while we sleep. Before we get started, let's settle in for our wind down. Tonight we are taking a natural adventure. So, find a comfortable position in your bed, allowing your body to sink into the soft surface beneath you. Gently close your eyes and take a slow, deep breath in. Hold. And exhale. Let go of the day's worries as you breathe in calm. And breathe out tension. Now, imagine yourself standing at the edge of an ancient forest, bathed in the soft glow of twilight. The air is fresh and crisp, carrying the scent of earth, wild jasmine, roses, and pine. A gentle breeze rustles the leaves, whispering a soothing melody just for you. With each step forward, you feel lighter, as if the forest itself is welcoming you into its embrace. The ground beneath your feet is soft, cushioned by moss and fallen leaves. Listen to the distant sound of a bubbling brook, its waters flowing smoothly over smooth stones, creating a rhythmic lullaby. You continue walking, feeling safe and at ease. Fireflies flicker around you like tiny stars, their glow warm and gentle. The trees above sway in perfect harmony with the wind, their branches forming a natural canopy that shields you from all worries. Now, find a resting spot, a cozy, moss-covered nook beneath a grand oak tree. You settle in, feeling the earth cradle you with its nurturing energy. The sounds of the forest surround you, a distant owl hoots, the rustling leaves whisper, and the gentle trickle of water soothes your mind. With each breath, you feel yourself becoming one with nature, as if the trees, the earth, and the stars above are all holding you in a loving embrace. Your body grows heavier, your mind quieter, and your heart calmer. You are safe. You are at peace. Let go now. Allow yourself to drift into a deep, restful, relaxed state. Let go of today's tension and let your mind, body, and spirit rest, cradled by the arms of the whispering forest. The night watches over you, protecting you until morning's light. Let's get ready for our adventure to begin. Tonight's story is about Erebus, a boisterous 3-year-old cat, and his little brother Eros, as they have an unexpected encounter that changes their lives forever. Join me as I share with you Erebus and Eros meet the great goddess. Two brothers, not from birth. Erebus, the eldest, has eyes of green, and Eros, with eyes like glowing amber, sat on the roof of their cozy home, staring up at the full moon. The night breeze whispered secrets through the trees, and the stars twinkled as if inviting them on an adventure. Eros, the curious one, flicked his tail. Do you ever wonder where we come from? Erebus, always thoughtful, gazed at the sky. I think we're made of moonlight and shadows, but maybe there's more to it. As soon as the words left his mouth, a golden glow surrounded them. The air shimmered like the heat of the desert, and suddenly they were no longer on their rooftop. Instead, they stood in a grand temple, its towering pillars carved with ancient symbols. The scent of myrrh and lotus blossoms filled the air. Before them sat a regal feline with fur like polished obsidian and eyes like the rising sun. A golden collar rested around her neck, and in her ears were shining earrings that jingled softly. The kittens instinctively lowered their heads in respect. "Welcome, little ones," the feline purred, her voice smooth as silk. "I am Bastet, goddess of protection, joy, and cats." Eros's tail fluffed up with excitement. "The real Bastet? We've heard of you in stories." Bastet chuckled, a sound like bells ringing in the wind. "And I have watched over you since you were born." Erebus stepped forward, eyes full of wonder. "Did you bring us here?" "I did," Bastet said, her golden eyes glowing. "You have the spirit of the great felines who once roamed my lands. The same mystery, the same grace. But I see in you a question, a longing to understand your purpose." The kittens exchanged glances. They had always felt different, as if there was something more they were meant to do. Bastet stood, her elegant form towering over them, yet she radiated warmth. "You are guardians of the unseen. You walk between shadows and moonlight, guiding those who need you. Your paws may be small, but your spirits are vast." Eros's ears perked up. "Like heroes?" Bastet's whiskers twitched with amusement. "Like guides, protectors of dreams and seekers of truth. Wherever your paws take you, remember, your presence is never unnoticed. Even in the quietest corners of the world, you leave ripples." Erebus and Eros sat in awe, their little hearts swelling with pride. Bastet lifted a paw, and a warm golden light wrapped around them once more. "Now, return home, my little ones. Your journey is only beginning." The kittens blinked and found themselves back on their rooftop, the stars winking at them as if they had witnessed everything. Eros stretched, a new energy buzzing in his tiny frame. "We're special, Erebus." Bastet said so. Erebus smiled, curling his tail around his paws. "We always have been." And as they sat beneath the watchful moon, they knew their adventure was far from over. The night wind carried the echoes of Bastet's words, and though they were back on their familiar rooftop, Erebus and Eros felt different. The stars seemed brighter, the air electric with possibility. Eros stood and stretched. "So, what do we do now? I mean, we're guardians of the unseen, right? Shouldn't we start doing something guardianish?" Erebus flicked his tail thoughtfully. Bastet said our journey was only beginning. Maybe we should wait and see what comes to us. As if the universe itself had been listening, a strange sound drifted through the night. A soft, whispering cry, like wind through reeds, yet filled with sadness. It came from the alley behind their home. Eros's ears perked up. "Did you hear that?" Erebus was already on his feet. "Let's go." The two kittens leapt down from the rooftop, landing silently on soft paws. They padded through the alley, guided by the sorrowful whisper. There, curled against an old wooden crate, was a tiny, translucent figure, a kitten, just like them, but shimmering like moonlight on water. Its wide, glowing eyes locked onto theirs. "Who are you?" Erebus asked gently. The little ghost sniffled. I don't know. I can't remember my name. I just know I lost something, and now I can't find my way home." Eros's heart clenched. "You're lost?" The ghost kitten nodded, its tiny body flickering like a candle in the wind. I think I was waiting for someone to help me." Erebus and Eros exchanged a glance. This was it. This was why Bastet had called them. Erebus stepped closer. "We'll help you. We're guardians of the unseen." Eros beamed. "Yeah. And finding lost things sounds like an important guardian duty." The ghost kitten's glow brightened slightly. "You will?" "Of course," Erebus said. "But first, tell us, what do you remember? Anything at all?" The kitten's misty form trembled as it tried to recall. "I remember a bell, a soft bed, and a name almost." Eros's whiskers twitched. "A bell, huh? There's a shop nearby that sells bells. Maybe you came from there?" Erebus nodded. "It's worth a try. Let's go." With the ghost kitten floating beside them, they padded through the sleeping streets, the golden glow of streetlights casting long shadows. The air hummed with unseen energy, as if the world itself recognized their purpose. As they turned the corner, a soft chime rang from a small antique shop. In the window, dozens of tiny bells hung from strings, catching the moonlight. The ghost kitten gasped. "That sound. I remember that sound." Excited, Eros hopped onto the windowsill and peered inside. The shop was dimly lit, but an old woman sat inside, cradling a small collar with a silver bell attached. The moment she saw them, her eyes widened. "Oh, my sweet little Anpu," she whispered, touching the bell. "I still miss you." The ghost kitten let out a tiny gasp. "Anpu. That's my name." A warmth filled the air, wrapping around Anpu like a golden ribbon. His tiny form began to glow brighter, and for the first time, he looked peaceful. Erebus purred. "She's been waiting for you, Anpu." The ghost kitten turned to them, eyes shining. "Thank you for helping me remember." With a final, grateful glance, Anpu drifted toward the woman. The moment he touched her, the bell let out a soft chime, and then he was gone, his spirit finally at rest. Eros exhaled. "Wow." Erebus watched as the woman smiled, a single tear rolling down her cheek. "I think we did our first guardian job." Eros nudged him playfully. "Think Bastet's proud of us?" A soft breeze ruffled their fur, carrying the scent of lotus blossoms. A whisper, gentle and warm, drifted through the air. "Well done, my little ones." Erebus smiled. "I think she is." As they padded home under the starlit sky, they knew this was only the beginning of their adventures as guardians of the unseen. The night felt different after helping Anpu find his way home. Erebus and Eros returned to their rooftop, their fur still tingling with the warmth of Bastet's blessing. They had always felt there was something special about them, but now they knew the world was full of unseen spirits, lost souls, and mysteries waiting to be uncovered. Eros lay on his back, staring at the moon. So, do you think there are more like Anpu? Spirits who need help? Erebus curled his tail around his paws. I think so. And I think it's our job to find them. Before they could ponder further, a sudden rustling sound caught their attention. The wind picked up, carrying the scent of something ancient, papyrus and desert sand. The air shimmered, and a shadow moved across the rooftop. Eros leapt to his feet, fur bristling. Erebus? A figure emerged from the darkness, a cat, but unlike any they had ever seen. Her fur was deep brown, dappled like the markings of a cheetah, and her eyes were lined with kohl as if painted by a divine hand. Around her neck was a golden collar, much like the one Bastet had worn. Erebus and Eros instinctively bowed their heads. Are you another goddess? Erebus asked. The feline chuckled, her voice smooth as silk. I serve the gods, but I am no goddess myself. My name is Sekani. I am a guardian, like you. Eros's ears perked up. Wait, there are more of us? Sekani's tail flicked, and for the first time, they noticed the symbols etched onto her collar, hieroglyphs that glowed softly in the moonlight. More than you know, she said. The world has always needed protectors of the unseen. You have been chosen by Bastet, but your journey is just beginning. There is a balance to maintain, and not all spirits are as kind as Anpu. Erebus's fur prickled. You mean, some spirits are dangerous? Sekani nodded solemnly. Some have forgotten themselves. Some were never meant to linger in this world at all. Eros gulped. And what do we do if we find one of those? Sekani's golden eyes gleamed. You learn. You train. You grow into the guardians you are meant to be. She took a step closer, lowering her head so they could see the ancient wisdom in her gaze. And I will teach you. Erebus and Eros exchanged a look. They had known, deep in their tiny feline hearts, that they were meant for something more. And now, the path was laid before them. Eros grinned. Okay, Guardian Sekani. When do we start? Sekani's whiskers twitched. Right now. The wind howled, the stars above shimmered, and the two little black cats took their first steps into a world far greater than they had ever imagined. The moment Sekani spoke, the world around them shifted. The night breeze thickened, and the rooftop beneath their paws seemed to dissolve into mist. Erebus and Eros barely had time to react before they found themselves standing in an entirely different place, an ancient courtyard bathed in silver moonlight. Towering stone columns surrounded them, carved with hieroglyphs that glowed faintly. The air smelled of aged papyrus, warm sand, and the faintest hint of incense. In the center of the courtyard stood a large sandstone statue of Bastet, her serene face watching over them. Eros spun in a circle. Okay, that was cool. Are we in Egypt? Sekani sat gracefully, her tail curling around her paws. Not quite. This is a sacred place, one that exists between worlds, where time does not move as it does in the waking world. Erebus observed their surroundings with quiet curiosity. A place for training? Sekani nodded. Indeed. Before you can become true guardians, you must learn the ways of the unseen. Eros crouched playfully. So, do we get cool powers? Like shooting lightning from our paws? Sekani giggled. Not quite. But you will learn to see beyond the veil, to listen to spirits, and, if needed, to defend yourself against those that seek to harm the balance. She stood and flicked her tail. Come. Your first lesson begins now. Erebus and Eros followed her to the center of the courtyard where Sekani sat before them. She lifted a paw, and a soft ripple of energy spread outward. The first gift of a guardian is sight, the ability to see what others cannot. Close your eyes and listen. Erebus and Eros obeyed, shutting their eyes. At first, all they could hear was the wind. But as they focused, the world around them seemed to change. Erebus's ears twitched. He heard whispers, soft like echoes in a dream. Faint voices drifting on the wind. Eros gasped. I hear something. It's like tiny voices, but they're everywhere. Sekani purred approvingly. Good. Those are the whispers of spirits, echoes of those who have passed, but still linger in the world. Erebus opened his eyes, blinking as the air around them shimmered. Suddenly, he saw them, faint figures drifting like smoke. Some were cats, others were human-shaped but blurred, like unfinished paintings. Eros's golden eyes widened. Whoa! I see them too. Sekani nodded. This is the gift of sight. With practice, you will learn to separate friendly spirits from those that wish to remain hidden. Erebus studied one of the spirits, a small feline curled up near the Bastet statue. It lifted its head and met his gaze before vanishing into mist. They're watching us. Sekani's expression grew serious. Yes. Because they know you are different now. And soon, others will notice too. Eros tilted his head. Others? A sudden chill ran through the air. The warm, safe feeling of the courtyard trembled, as if something was approaching. Erebus and Eros instinctively pressed closer together. Sekani stood, her fur bristling slightly. Not all spirits wish to be seen. Some prefer the darkness. The wind howled, and from the shadows, a pair of glowing red eyes appeared. Erebus's fur stood on end. What is that? Sekani's voice was calm but firm. Your next lesson. The shadow moved closer, a low, growling sound filling the air. The first true test of Erebus and Eros had begun. Erebus and Eros stood frozen as the glowing red eyes moved closer. The shadowy figures surrounding them seemed to shift and pulse, as if it were made of living darkness. A deep, guttural growl filled the air, sending a shiver through the fur of the two young guardians. Eros, always the bolder of the two, puffed up his fur and hissed. Okay, that's definitely not a friendly spirit. Erebus took a cautious step forward, his sharp eyes fixed on the creature. What is it, Sekani? Sekani stood tall, her golden eyes never leaving the shadow. This is a lost one, a spirit consumed by fear and anger. It has forgotten who it once was, and now it lingers in the in-between, feeding on the energy of the living. Eros gulped. And, what exactly does it want with us? The shadow rumbled, shifting into a twisted shape, sometimes cat-like, sometimes something else entirely. It lunged forward slightly, testing them, but Sekani raised a paw, and the energy of the courtyard shimmered like a protective barrier. "This is your test," she said. "You have been chosen as guardians, but your strength must be proven. To be a protector of the unseen, you must learn to face the darkness." Erebus's fur bristled, but he held his ground. He had always been the quiet, careful one, but something about this moment felt right. As if he had been preparing for it his whole life. Eros, though nervous, crouched beside him. "All right, Erebus. How do we fight a shadow?" Sekani's voice was steady. "You do not fight it with claws. A lost one is not merely an enemy, it is a being that has strayed too far from the light. You must guide it back." The shadow lunged again, but this time Erebus didn't flinch. Instead, he focused. He thought of Anpu, the lost kitten they had helped. He thought of Bastet's words, that they were meant to guide those who had lost their way. Then, instinctively, he spoke. "I see you." The shadow froze. Eros blinked. What?" Erebus took another step forward, his voice calm but firm. "I see you. I know you're lost. You don't have to stay here in the dark." The red eyes flickered, and for a moment the shadow wavered. Eros caught on quickly. He stepped beside Erebus, his own voice steady. "Yeah. You don't have to be scared anymore. You were something before all this, right? You just have to remember." The shadow let out a low, rumbling sound, not quite a growl, not quite a cry. It shifted again, and this time, its shape became clearer. A cat, thin and spectral, with fur that had once been sleek and proud. A golden collar, now dull, hung around its neck. Sekani's voice was soft. "Say its name." Erebus's heart pounded. He didn't know the spirit's name, but somehow, deep in his soul, he did. It was as if the answer had always been there, waiting for him to call it forth. "Rocket," he whispered. The shadow cat shuddered. The red glow in its eyes flickered, and the darkness that clung to its body peeled away like smoke. Eros gasped. "It's working!" Rocket lifted its head, eyes wide with recognition. Then, with a final, shimmering pulse of light, the lost one dissolved into golden dust, carried away by the wind. Silence fell over the courtyard. Eros flopped onto his back, letting out a breath. "Phew! So, did we pass?" Sekani smiled, her golden eyes gleaming with pride. "You did more than pass. You understood." Erebus let out a slow breath, his heart still racing. "We didn't fight it. We helped it remember." Sekani nodded. "That is the heart of a true guardian. Not all spirits need to be banished, many only need to be guided home." Eros sat up, grinning. "Well, if that was our first test, I'd say we're pretty amazing." Sekani chuckled. Indeed. But this is only the beginning. There are many more spirits in need of guidance, and not all will be so willing to return to the light. Erebus and Eros exchanged a glance. They knew their journey had only just begun. But for the first time, they felt ready. As the stars shimmered above them, the two little black cats stood tall, guardians of the unseen, protectors of lost souls, and heirs to the legacy of Bastet herself. Erebus and Eros spent the next few nights training under Sekani's watchful eye. She taught them to sharpen their senses, to listen not just with their ears, but with their hearts. They learned to feel the echoes of spirits in the wind, to read the unseen currents that flowed between the worlds. Each night, their bond with the unseen deepened. And each night, they felt a growing pull, like something beyond the veil was calling to them. Then, one evening, as the full moon rose, Sekani gathered them beneath the statue of Bastet. You have proven yourselves as guides of lost spirits, she said. Now, it is time for your next trial. Eros stretched, rolling his shoulders. All right, what's next? More shadow cats? Maybe a ghost dog this time? Sekani's expression darkened. No. This time, we go somewhere far more dangerous. A place where even the spirits dare not linger. Erebus's fur prickled. Where? Sekani turned toward the horizon, where the stars shimmered unnaturally. The silent city. Eros tilted his head. That name doesn't sound too bad. Sekani's golden eyes locked onto his. That is because you have not been there. A hush fell over them. Even the wind seemed to pause. Erebus's tail flicked. What is the silent city? Sekani exhaled. Long ago, there was a city where both the living and the dead walked freely. A place where spirits could visit their loved ones, where guardians like us kept balance. But something changed. A darkness crept in, a force even the gods could not cleanse. Now, the city is lost between worlds, frozen in time. Those who enter do not return. Eros's ears flattened. Okay, and we're going there? Sekani nodded. Yes. Something is stirring within the silent city. A whisper has reached the ears of Bastet herself. If something within that place is strong enough to call to the gods, it is our duty to investigate. Erebus took a steadying breath. Then we'll go. Sekani gave him an approving nod. Be warned, there are spirits in that city who have been trapped for centuries. Some will be lost. Some will be desperate. And some will not want us there. Eros swallowed but lifted his head. Well, good thing we're fast. Sekani's tail flicked, and suddenly the courtyard shimmered around them. The air bent and twisted, and Erebus felt the now familiar pull of unseen forces. Then, silence. The warmth of Sekani's training grounds was gone. Erebus blinked, his ears twitching at the eerie stillness. He and Eros now stood on a wide cobblestone street lined with crumbling stone buildings. The sky above was a deep, endless gray, with no stars, no moon, only a dull, lifeless glow. The air was thick with something heavy. It wasn't just silence, It was emptiness, as if the city itself was waiting. Eros shivered. Okay, I take it back. The name is bad. Sekani stepped forward, her golden collar faintly glowing. Stay close. And listen. Erebus strained his ears. At first, all he heard was the weight of silence pressing in. But then, faint murmurs. Whispers curling around the corners of the buildings. Shadows shifting just out of sight. Eros's fur bristled. We're not alone. A voice, hollow and distant, drifted through the air. Who are you? Erebus turned sharply. A figure stood in the street ahead, a cat, or something close to one. Its body was thin, stretched, its face shrouded in mist. Its eyes, hollow and endless, bore into them. Sekani's voice was calm but firm. We are guardians of the unseen. We seek the one who calls from this place. The figure tilted its head unnaturally. The one who calls. No one calls. No one speaks. Not anymore. Eros took a cautious step forward. Then who are you? The figure twitched. We are the forgotten. A sudden gust of wind howled through the city, and from the shadows, more figures emerged. Thin, ghostly cats, their bodies flickering like dying candlelight. Their hollow eyes fixed on Erebus and Eros, empty yet longing. Sekani's tail flicked. Stay ready. The forgotten do not always remember kindness. Erebus's heart pounded. The silent city was not as empty as it seemed. And whatever had called them here, whatever had whispered to the gods, was still waiting. The wind howled through the empty streets of the silent city, carrying with it the whispers of the forgotten. The shadowy figures of long-lost cats surrounded Erebus, Eros, and Sekani, their hollow eyes filled with something between longing and despair. Eros shifted uneasily. So, what do we do? Are they dangerous? Sekani's golden eyes flickered as she observed the spirits. They are lost, trapped between what once was and what is. Some may lash out, not because they wish to harm, but because they have forgotten everything except their sorrow. Erebus studied the nearest figure. Its form flickered, barely holding together, like a memory unraveling. He stepped forward, his voice calm. We see you. The spirit jerked slightly, as if startled. See me? Eros followed his brother's lead. Yeah. You're not invisible. You're not forgotten. The whispers grew louder. The spirits twitched, some pulling back into the mist, others pressing closer. One of them, a feline with faint golden markings along its faded body, tilted its head. We are the forgotten. Sekani stepped forward now, her presence commanding yet gentle. Tell us. What happened to this city? The golden-marked spirit wavered. Time stopped. Another voice, hollow and distant, joined in. We were here, then we were nowhere. Erebus's tail flicked. Then who? Before he could finish, the wind changed. The low murmurs of the spirits turned into gasps and whimpers. The forgotten ones shrank back, their forms dimming further as a new presence entered the street. From the depths of the city, something stirred. A slow, rhythmic sound like the beat of a great, unseen heart. Eros flattened his ears. That doesn't sound good. Sekani's eyes darkened. Stay close. A shadow unfolded at the far end of the street. At first, it was formless, just a shifting darkness seeping through the cracks of the city. But then, it took shape. A towering feline figure, draped in a flowing black mist, emerged. Its eyes glowed a deep, eerie blue, unlike any spirit Erebus or Eros had ever seen before. Its presence was suffocating, as if the very air recoiled from it. The forgotten spirits cowered, whispering among themselves. The Keeper. Erebus swallowed hard. The what now? The dark figure stepped forward, its voice rolling through the city like distant thunder. Who dares trespass in my domain? Eros took an instinctive step back. Yeah, so I vote we leave. Sekani held her ground, her golden collar glowing faintly. We seek the one who called to the gods. The Keeper's blue eyes locked onto her. Then you have come in vain. No voice escapes this city. None have left. None ever will. Erebus's claws flexed against the stone. That's not true. We're here. We heard the call. The Keeper studied them for a moment, then let out a slow, echoing growl. Impossible. The shadows behind the figure pulsed, and Erebus suddenly felt a strange weight pressing against his mind, like something trying to pull him under. He gritted his teeth, shaking it off, but he saw Eros sway slightly beside him. Eros! Erebus nudged his brother. Stay with me. Eros blinked rapidly. Ugh. That's a nasty trick. Sekani's fur bristled. It's trying to pull you into the forgetting. She stepped forward, her voice strong. You hold these spirits prisoner. Why? The Keeper's eyes flared. They are mine. They belong to the silent city now. The forgotten spirits whimpered, but Erebus caught something else in their murmurs, something beneath their fear. Hope. A flicker, buried deep, but it was there. Erebus straightened. No. They don't belong to you. Eros shook off the last of the Keeper's influence and growled. Yeah. You're just keeping them trapped here. That's why someone called for help, isn't it? The Keeper's shadowy form wavered slightly. This is their fate. None leave. Sekani's eyes gleamed. Then we shall see. She turned to Erebus and Eros. Listen to the spirits. Find the voice that called to us. Erebus closed his eyes, tuning out the Keeper's looming presence. He focused deeper, past the whispers of fear. And then, a voice, small yet strong, rang in his mind. Help us. Erebus's eyes snapped open. He turned toward the golden-marked spirit. It was you. The spirit trembled, but its gaze was steady. We do not wish to be forgotten. We remember, we want to remember. Eros grinned. Then let's get you out of here. The Keeper roared, the shadows around it surging. You will not take them. The ground trembled. The silent city itself seemed to resist, the very air thickening as if trying to drown them in its grip. Sekani's voice rang out. Erebus. Eros. The choice is yours. Will you break the cycle? Erebus and Eros met each other's gaze. They had been chosen for this. Erebus stood tall. We are guardians of the unseen. Eros grinned, his golden eyes burning with determination. And we're not leaving anyone behind. The spirits around them stirred, their flickering forms growing steadier. One by one, their hollow eyes began to glow with golden light. The keeper snarled, its form twisting. No, they are mine. But the forgotten ones no longer cowered. They remembered. A golden pulse rippled through the silent city, shaking its very foundation. The keeper howled as the light engulfed it. The shadows peeled away, unraveling into nothingness. And then, silence. But not the heavy, empty silence from before. This silence was peaceful. The silent city was no longer frozen. The spirits, once trapped, now glowed with warmth. Sekani exhaled, watching as the forgotten ones slowly faded into the golden light. They are free. Eros flopped onto his back with a relieved sigh. Phew. No big deal, just took down a giant shadow overlord or whatever. Erebus sat down, his heart still pounding. We did it. Sekani turned to them, pride shining in her eyes. Yes, you did. The last of the golden-marked spirits' form shimmered. Thank you. With that, the spirits faded, their light joining the sky like new stars. The silent city, once a prison, had finally found peace. Eros nudged Erebus with a grin. So, think Boss Det's gonna be impressed? Erebus smirked. I think we just earned our place as true guardians. Sekani chuckled. Indeed. And this is only the beginning. As the stars above gleamed brighter, Erebus and Eros knew one thing for sure. There were still many spirits to guide, many mysteries to uncover. And they were ready.